Am I the a-hole for taking my daughter out to eat? So I, 39 mem, have a 16F daughter from a previous marriage. For context, I met my current wife, 37, when my daughter was 10 years old, and she had a son, 7M, from before we met. Our relationship was great, and our bond was really strong throughout our time together. 5 months into our relationship, I introduced her to my ex, 35F, and my daughter. My ex and wife were cordial, and my daughter quickly warmed up to her. From what I know, they had a decent relationship. My daughter grew up somewhat of a picky eater. For example, she won't eat foods like oatmeal, tomatoes, garlic, mushrooms, barbecue, anything salty or sour, etc. She loves spicy food, sweets, and all that, and you could not trick her into eating anything she didn't like. When she was 13, I put a single garlic clove in the melted butter I was using to make her grilled cheese. I don't know how, but she could taste it, and I knew for a fact the taste wasn't that strong. Her taste senses amazed me. Oh, she ignored me for a whole week and didn't eat anything I made for her. I never attempted something like that again. I work an 8 to 5 shift, but yesterday I got off around 9 p.m. because my group and I wanted to hurry and complete our part of a work project. When I got home, my wife had already prepared dinner and left my plate in the oven. I heated my food and stood at the island, chatting with my wife, who was with our son in the living room. As I was eating, I realized that my wife had prepared garlic stir-fried rice, barbecue chicken, and a vegetable salad consisting of corn, tomatoes, mushrooms, and spinach. I stopped chatting with my wife and just stared at my plate for a good 5 minutes. My wife asked what was wrong and if I disliked the food. After a seeming eternity, I asked what my daughter had eaten because everything she cooked were foods my daughter disliked. She was silent for a few moments before finally saying that my daughter hadn't eaten since lunch. Needless to say, I was upset. I asked her why she had not altered the meal to suit my daughter's palate. She became defensive and started saying my daughter was being dramatic and it was just food, so if hungry, she could still eat. We argued, and I reminded her it wasn't simple for a picky eater like my daughter. After some back and forth, I decided to end the discussion by ignoring my wife. I felt my daughter's wishes were overlooked. I took my daughter out to eat, bought her some sweets, and we bonded and talked a lot. I discovered that my wife had been intentionally cooking meals my daughter dislikes. My daughter rarely complains, using money from her paycheck to eat, but she wasn't planning to spend her savings on this particular night's meal. We returned home around midnight, and my wife was upset I had taken our daughter out instead of encouraging her to eat what was cooked. My wife and I need to have a lengthy conversation when I'm off work. Update: I got home about an hour ago and spent around 15 minutes reading comments. I'll answer questions at the end of this post. The talk with my wife went okay-ish. I asked her what was happening. She was hesitant, not wanting to have this conversation. Eventually, she admitted she hates cooking for my daughter. She explained that it was too much trouble to constantly go out of her way to accommodate her, and how frustrating it was to ensure the food was cooked to a specific texture and seasoned to our daughter's preference. She then revealed that she stopped cooking food as our daughter liked because our son did not like it. She continued, saying that my daughter just needed to grow up since it was merely food and wouldn't harm her, and how dealing with her pickiness was too draining. I asked why she hadn't sat down with the kids to discuss a compromise, and she replied that our son's needs came before our daughter's. She also disclosed that she had completely stopped purchasing over half of my daughter's specific grocery items because it was a waste of finances, and that our son could have the snacks he desired. I was astonished and questioned her if she planned to let my daughter starve. She replied, saying that all my daughter had to do was eat the food she prepared. I inquired what was so difficult about setting aside 1 or 2 pieces of plain chicken. She said that I wouldn't understand because I didn't cook for my daughter like she did. This was true, as I'm at work from 5 to 9 and I only prepare meals on weekends, holidays, and during holiday breaks. She apologized to me, but suggested that I should encourage my daughter to consume the food she doesn't prefer, as it would simplify everyone's life. I then asked her if she would have the same opinion if it were our son, and she did not respond, which was an answer in itself. I am now unsure of what steps to take. If she is willing to let my daughter go without food, what else might she be willing to neglect when it comes to my daughter? What should I do next? QA. My daughter is not overweight, and she does not solely consume junk food. For vegetables, she eats carrots, lettuce, corn, asparagus, and cucumbers. For fruit, she eats watermelon, dragon fruit, apples, and mangoes. My daughter is indeed capable of cooking. The only reason she hasn't been is because her fall break is approaching and my wife didn't purchase her entire grocery list, so she is conserving it, which is truly absurd because no child should have to worry about the amount of food they can consume consume when they are hungry. My daughter informed her biological mother, and she is upset, suggesting that my daughter come live with her. My daughter decides who she spends the year with, and if she wishes to go, I won't prevent her because I do not want my daughter in a home where she is being neglected. Also, I do not in any way pressure my wife to prepare meals for my daughter. In fact, she insists on doing it, and if she approached me and said she didn't want to cook for my daughter anymore, I would understand and adjust my schedule to prepare my daughter's meals myself. My wife takes one grocery trip for the entire month, so if she doesn't get everything on my daughter's list, of course, my daughter's meals will be limited. I talked with my daughter, and she is not upset with my wife at all and is even urging me to forgive her. It's frustrating because my 16-year-old daughter is trying to mend our marriage, while my wife essentially said she couldn't care less about my daughter. My daughter is also willing to go grocery shopping with my wife and pay for her own groceries to avoid any further conflict. Some people were suggesting she might have AITA disorder, and I'm definitely going to look into it. Any advice on what steps I should take with my wife? On one hand, I love her, but on the other hand, I can't fathom being with someone willing to neglect my daughter. Update. I'm going to clarify some things and answer the most frequently asked questions. Do I plan on staying with my wife? No, I've already decided on divorce. Why do I refer to my wife's son as our son and my daughter as my daughter? My daughter doesn't call my wife Mom. She addresses her by her first name, which makes sense since her own mother is still very involved in her life. Naturally, I'd refer to my daughter as my daughter. As for my ex's son, I've known him since he was 7 years old, and he didn't have any father figure in his life. He calls me dad, and I treat him like my own. I thought it would be easier to understand throughout the story. Why won't my daughter just cook her own food? Well, if you read the story thoroughly, you would see where I said that my wife admitted to not buying most of my daughter's grocery list. This, of course, limits the food my daughter can prepare and eat herself. She believes that it's a waste of money and should be used on snacks her son prefers and additional food. How bad is my daughter's relationship with her biological mom? My daughter and her bio mom have a very good relationship. She has never been neglectful towards her as far as I know. She lived with her bio mom from ages 12-15. I think she's interested in staying with me to try a different arrangement and get a break from her bio mom, as I know she can be a bit crazy, and I mean that in a good way. Why doesn't my daughter eat the food my wife makes instead of throwing a fit? It's not as simple as just eating the food. She gets physically ill. Seriously, we try every now and then to expand her palate. No luck. She literally will gag and vomit the food. Am I going to let her pay for her own groceries? Absolutely not. A child shouldn't have to worry about making sure they can eat regardless of their age. That's the parent's job. How is my wife only going grocery shopping for an entire month? On the first of every month, my wife goes grocery shopping, with our budget being £1,000 to £1,500. My work schedule, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Off on weekends and holidays. Why am I letting my daughter stay instead of my wife? My daughter has a choice to stay with me or her mother, and she's choosing to stay with me. My wife will be the one leaving once the divorce is finalized. Have I told my wife or the kids that I've decided on divorce? No, not tonight. I will be having a sit down with both my kids separately and one with everyone together. I do teach my daughter how to manage her money. My daughter is a junior, so she is usually busy with a lot. She also plays soccer, volleyball, and is on the student council at her school. She shouldn't have to worry about having a meal to eat when she gets home. Not saying that she's too young to go grocery shopping herself, but you get the point. My daughter isn't upset with my wife. She sympathizes with her because she understands how difficult it is to accommodate someone with her specific taste preferences and continues to insist that I give my wife another chance. It is heartbreaking because my wife openly admitted to prioritizing her own son's needs over my daughter's, which I understand to some extent. You protect your own, right? However, I never play favorites between her son and my daughter, and if our roles were switched, I would go out of my way to accommodate her son. People also wonder why I did not notice this sooner. My wife always assured me that she prepared a separate meal for my daughter, which I believed without question, because I had no reason to doubt her. My daughter is a huge people pleaser, so she probably did not say anything out of fear of causing tension between my wife and me. To those narrow-minded individuals claiming that my daughter is being dramatic, consider it as if you were being forced to eat something you had a severe allergy to. You wouldn't want to, and you shouldn't be forced to. People are saying that my wife's neglect of our daughter is serious, so I am going to enroll my daughter in therapy because I know she won't openly discuss any other issues between her and my wife. My daughter isn't literally starving, she has a job. However, she shouldn't have to spend her money on takeout every night. Not forcing my daughter to eat something she cannot keep down isn't me spoiling her, and those those suggesting she should just suck it up need to seek help. I feel extremely guilty as a parent for not recognizing my daughter's neglect sooner and hope to repair our relationship. I'm also going to investigate all the conditions you all suggest my daughter might have. Feel free to ask anything in the comments if you are still confused. Update. Sorry it took me so long to get back to everyone. I've been reading all the comments for a while now and just want to say thank you for all the support. First, I want to address the comments saying that I'm divorcing my wife because of a dietary issue. Those comments need to wake up. The issue runs much deeper. My wife purposely neglected to buy my daughter's grocery list after insisting, every time, on handling the grocery shopping and food preparation herself. She intentionally neglected my daughter and disrespected her. There is truly no telling what else she might do to my daughter. Therefore, I no longer trust her. I'm honestly disappointed in my wife. Just to clarify, my daughter isn't spoiled. She works for half of the things she owns. She pays for her own school books and her own phone bills. Her choice. She also is a straight A and B student. She literally is one of the biggest people pleasers you will probably ever meet. She is also a very calm, natured individual and doesn't resolve her problems by fighting and yelling. She's very mature. As stated in my second update, I had a talk with my son, my daughter, and my wife. I spoke with my daughter first and told her I was divorcing my wife. She was shocked and kept insisting that I give her another chance and said she isn't in any way upset. I told her that I understand, but I was upset for her, and I assured her that this wasn't her fault and that I just wanted the best for her. She got very defensive and said, "You need to be worried about your own happiness. I'm leaving for the military or college in a few years, and you're going to be an old man with no one there for you." I laughed and said that I could be 130 and still make the best out of being alone. After that, we laughed, we cried, she apologized, and we comforted each other. Next, it was time to talk to my son. He looked so taken aback and then started crying heavily. I comforted him, telling him that it wasn't his fault and continuously apologizing to him. After he calmed down, I explained the entire situation to him. He appeared embarrassed and weary, and he began apologizing for his mother's actions. After some time, he cleared his throat and asked, "So, does this mean you won't be my dad anymore?" That sentence broke my heart, and I started shedding a few tears. I told him that he would always be like a son to me, and that I would continue to support him financially, even if we lost contact. He cried and assured me that he still wanted me as a father, and acknowledged that his mother might prevent me from seeing him. I reassured and comforted him. Approximately 2 hours later, it was finally time to break the news to my wife. I had both kids present, and since the majority of you suggested gathering evidence, I had my phone in my pocket to record the entire conversation. I began by asking what issues she had with my daughter. She remained utterly silent until I finally spoke again, saying, "I'm divorcing you, so you should start looking for a lawyer." I asked her to explain why she was neglecting and disrespecting my daughter. At this point, she was crying quietly. My daughter spoke up and suggested we have this discussion later. I argued against this idea with my daughter until my wife interjected, saying she acted that way because my daughter resembles her mother, my ex. Naturally, the kids and I were puzzled about how my daughter's resemblance to her mother was relevant. I asked her to clarify, and she started crying again. I could barely understand, but she claimed that I was cheating on her with my ex, which is not true. She said I would flirt with my ex on the phone while lying right next to her, also untrue. Who in their right mind would even do such a thing? She claimed that my relationship with my ex isn't normal. I will explain our relationship thoroughly in the comments. And no, I do not in any way condone cheating, and I haven't cheated on my wife once. After stating that our relationship was ordinary, she began to harshly criticize my ex. As mentioned earlier, my daughter is usually a relaxed and tranquil individual, but she does not tolerate any kind of disrespect towards her mother. She unleashed a verbal tirade on my wife so severe that Mike Tyson would struggle to recover, then stormed off to her room. If you're wondering if I got involved, the answer is no. I don't regret it either. I won't repeat what she said here because I don't want anyone attacking my daughter. The discussion pretty much ended at that point. I went upstairs to soothe my daughter, while my son remained downstairs to comfort his mother. I shall be taking my wife to court for visitation rights with my son.